So everybody talks about time management, but is it really your time that you have to manage, or is it your energy? Now, if you were 100% focused all the time, would yours and your team's time management really be an issue? Or would you get a ton done? Now, most people don't know how to manage their energy. As we all know, time is a finite resource, but energy is not. You know, we all have the same scenario: rising demands, putting in higher hours. It all takes a toll on your energy system, and that leads to declining levels of engagement, increasing levels of distraction, all that dinging all the time. Of course, higher turnover rates, all that stuff that costs a business a lot of money. Now, when we think about this, energy comes from four sources: your mind, your emotions, your body, your physical, and then your spirit. And it needs to be systematically expanded and regularly renewed for it to be sustainable. To recharge ourselves, we need to recognize the costs of energy depleting behaviors and then take responsibility for changing them regardless of all the external circumstances that we face. So that means we have to create empowering rituals that take care of those energy systems. Now, how can we do that? It can start with doing an energy audit. And that means simply observing where you are. So, and then flipping what you do. So think about the first thing is your mind, because you need to focus. And one of the things that so many people do is multitasking. Now, I read the study, I think it was a Stanford study a long time ago, that says when you multitask, your brain energy, your brain level goes down to a 6-year-old. So multitasking, not such a great idea. Now, the other thing that you need to observe is what your ultradian rhythm is, what your ultradian sprint is. What that means is how long can you optimally focus. Most people think they can focus for a whole lot longer than they actually can, and that's why they're always like, I'm pushing through. But really, most people can only optimally focus for about 30 to 90 minutes. So you have to know what your real optimal focus length is so that you can be aware of that and that you can work with that. It's kind of like a kettlebell. You can't go to the gym and swing a 100-pound kettlebell the first time out. You have to start with something smaller and then work up to it. Next thing, when you're thinking about how you increase your focus, is coming up with, or actually being in your optimal environment. Where do you not have distractions? For some people, what's actually proven a really powerful thing to do is work from home, which is a lot more possible now. So think about if your environment is serving you and making you more able to focus. Another big energy and time sucker and focus sucker, of course, is emails. Now, do you really have to answer every single email just as it comes in? Or could you shift to maybe just answering it twice a day and have an autoresponder and let people know, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is my new practice, so I can preserve my focus and be a whole lot more effective. So think about that. And then what goes along with that is resetting people's expectations. Like, a lot of my clients complain that they get constantly pulled into the problem of the day by their teams. Now, a lot of times your team will actually be able to solve that problem without you, but they're so used to you jumping in and taking care of it for you that they come to you for every single little thing. So resetting expectations and defining for people, hey, what does it actually mean when there's an emergency? What's a true emergency look like, where you can come and get me, and what are things that you can do on your own? So resetting everybody's expectation can be really powerful in terms of helping you preserve that focus. And another thing that really works well is when you think about your day, when you step through your day before you start it, start with the most challenging thing first. Get it out of the way so that you can then focus on everything else. So that's kind of the mental aspect of your energy management. The next one I want to talk about is your emotions, because your emotions are huge in creating focus, of course, but also in being an influencer. You have to be able to take control of your emotions in a way that you can improve the quality of your energy regardless of the external pressures that you face. Now, a really simple thing to do is check in with yourself several times a day and just ask yourself, how do I feel? Because what is the impact that your emotions are having on your effectiveness? I promise you it's huge. And you will perform best when you're feeling positive energy. So I want to think about this. Are you surprised that when you're not able to perform to the highest level, that you are feeling any other way? So without intermittent recovery, we can't sustain highly positive emotions for a long time. We're constantly confronted with relentless demands and unexpected challenges, and that means we're slipping into these negative emotions. And for a lot of us, that turns into this fight and flight sort of mode, and it happens multiple times a day, which is really depleting when you look at it from the aspect of what happens in your brain, what happens in your chemical, in your hormone management. So being constantly stressed and under pressure is very depleting. That means people become irritable and impatient and anxious and also insecure. So these type of emotional states really tend to drain your energy, and of course that can cause friction in your relationships. It can cause unresourceful behaviors with your team, impatience, all the stuff we already talked about. Also, those fight and flight emotions make it impossible to think clearly. You can't be logical, you can't be reflective when you restrict the energy, the oxygen flow to your brain, which is effectively what happens when you're under high stress. So you have to learn what kinds of events trigger those negative emotions so that you can gain greater capacity to take control of your reactions. So there's a few simple things that you can do. One of the most effective and simplest one is don't forget to breathe. There's a breathing pattern that the Chopra Center teaches, where you breathe in fours. Like you're inhaling for 4 seconds, you're holding your breath for 4 seconds, you're exhaling for 4 seconds, and you're holding your breath out for 4 seconds. That whole cycle takes 16 seconds for drastically increased mental clarity. They're teaching this to like first responders, people who have to really be sharp. So think about that when you're getting thrown off your game. Stop for those 16 seconds and just do some simple breathing. Now, another really easy thing to do that's really wonderful also is to get into a space of appreciation for others. So when you're feeling drained or impatient, flip that ritual, flip that habit, and think about, who are you really appreciating today? Who has done an amazing job? Who has really helped you? Who's been in your corner? So appreciation for others, breathing, appreciation for others. And then the next one is change your story. When you are frequently in a place where you feel frustrated with others, you feel yourself blaming, it's really important that you start differentiating between facts, hey, this is what's really happening, and then your interpretation of the situation, and look at what story you're telling yourself at that moment. Are you telling yourself the story of, you can't change this is horrible, all these things that are being done to you? Or can you flip it and start with the best story you could be telling yourself in this moment, one that does not include blame or denial or any unresourceful way of thinking? So flip your story, come up with a really resourceful one that you can tell yourself. Also, another way to really increase that your emotional state is to, when you're in a challenging, in a frustrating situation, is look at the situation from the perspective of the people who you're dealing with. How are they feeling right now? If you put yourself in their shoes, what does the situation actually look like? So it can really help with empathy, and it also can help you get more neutral and appreciate the situation from a neutral perspective instead of whatever you're already thinking. And then another thing you can do is future pace it. And even if you can't control the situation, or the situation isn't going well, even if you don't like the outcome, ask yourself, what can you learn from this regardless of the outcome? So those are 4 things you can do to help you flip your emotional energy and get to a place of being more resourceful and being more positive, which of course has tremendous impact on the way that you respond and deal with others and help them. Think about what your team needs from you. When you're not clear and when you're not positive, that's something you're reflecting to them, and that's what they're going to model off of. Of course, next, it's your physical being, your body. So we already talked about that ultradian rhythm. This is where you are looking at when are you the most energetic? What time of day is your body feeling the best? Some of you are night owls, and the nighttime is your best time to focus and your best time for delivery. And some like early mornings. You have to observe what that is for you. When do you feel the most mental clarity? When you feel sharp? When you feel energetic? And leave your most challenging projects for that time. Don't try to something complicated when it's like 9 o'clock at night and you're tired and all you want to do is go to bed. So another thing that gives us is when you become aware of what it looks like when you tire out, then you can choose a different action. So your signals for tiring out includes physical restlessness, yawning, if you find yourself yawning all the time, if you find yourself hungry or feeling like you want to go get something to eat, and of course difficulty concentrating. But many of us really ignore those signs and keep working because we're like, oh, we can push through, we can get to the other side of that, which makes us really ineffective. The consequence here is that when you keep pushing through, your energy reservoir, your remaining capacity burns down as the day wears on. So constantly pushing through just keeps depleting until you got nothing left. And consistent burning down means that eventually you are going to burn out. So of course, how can you counteract that? Really simple stuff that most of us ignore. Get enough sleep, get some really good nutrition, don't drink too much booze, and get that regular exercise taken care of. So sleep, nutrition, no booze or little booze, and exercise is really important. And then the 4th thing that really is one of your most important energy regulators is your spiritual relationship. And that means that what you're doing has value to you. It has meaning to you. It's meaningful. It coincides with your core values, and it has purpose. So value, meaning, and purpose is what spiritually feeds you. What is your connection to your creator, the universe, whatever your belief system? How are you doing with that today? When you check into your spiritual system, are you doing what you want to be remembered for, or are you just slipping into a place where you just do something because you should? So the sweet spot for our work is when we feel effective, when we feel effortless, when we feel inspired, and when we feel fulfilled. And sometimes it really helps looking at what you do and chunk it down into smaller pieces to understand what makes it so. So if you already know something that feels inspiring, fulfilling, and energizing to you, what makes it so? And what kind of ritual can you start practicing that help you get what you want? So those were just 4 simple ways of chunking down your energy systems and feeding them and changing them. And you could do this very, very quickly. Anytime you start feeling tired or stressed out or unmotivated, check in with yourself and go, how am I feeling mentally right now? Where's my focus? Am I being distracted by what? How can I change that? It could just take 5 seconds. Where am I emotionally? What kind of story am I telling myself right now that is not resourceful, that is not feeding me, that is depleting me? And what story could I choose instead? Physically, am I at my best right now? Do I have any aches and pains? What do I need to do to take care of that? Do I need to stretch? Do I need to get some oxygen? What is it that I need to do so I feel good in my body so I can appreciate that? And then spiritually, how am I feeling with my value, with my purpose, with my meaning, with my connection to the universe, to my creator? Am I being in the right place? So you can just take 5 seconds each to check into that and refocus, repurpose, refocus, reset, and then have a much better day from there on. I hope this helps. I would recommend do this several times a day so that you have a ritual around these things, that you reset, reground yourself multiple times a day. And I'm curious to see what that does for you. You guys have a great week.